Thank you. Hello, yes. So this is 100 years ago. I'm living in Chicago. I'm like 28 years old, and I'm dating a guy in a wheelchair. And I know, I'm like not that good of a person. I met him, we weren't like dating, and then he got hit by a car, and I stayed with him because I'm like a good person. I met him, he was already in a wheelchair. He had already been hit by the car. And he was very smart and very handsome and very charming and like all the things on my vision board but rock climber. And I feel like it's very underestimated to always have somewhere to sit. So he's a great guy, and at the time I'm sort of trying to kind of think about stand-up or doing something in comedy, and he helps me write my first stand-up set. And he's a really funny guy, so it's like fun to do it with him, and he's very generous with his humor, and we come up with a couple of jokes, and I do it around Chicago a few times, and people are all laughing in all the right places, and it's going well. So I'm home. My parents are getting a little concerned about this because things are kind of getting serious. My mom is like blaming herself because I grew up in this small town in it's Winter Park, Colorado, which is a small ski town, and they're actually known for their disabled ski program. And my mom helped, run the program, and she also used to make dolls for the children with disabilities that like matched the disability that they had. So she's blaming herself for like making me too accepting. And they're just a little, they're just getting a little concerned. Anyway, so I'm home. I'm back in Winter Park, and it's we're over at a friend's, my parents' friend's house for a dinner party. There's like maybe a dozen people there, and they're all like, "Hey, Courtney, we hear you're doing stand-up. Like, do your set." And I'm like, no, it's like not the right venue, obviously. And I was like, no, do it. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's like, do it. And I was like, okay. My boyfriend is kind of upset that I only got interested in doing stand-up when I started dating a guy in a wheelchair. Whenever we get in a disagreement, I always just tell him to sit this one out. My parents are getting a little worried, and they've just come to the conclusion that, well, at least he isn't black. I told you it wasn't good. So, the chuckles that just happened now, that did not happen. It was nothing. It was absolute, horrible, icy, cold, humiliating, shameful silence. Because although Winter Park isn't a super diverse town, my parents do have one black friend named Stanley, who's the nicest man, who is sitting in the middle of the room. And everybody looks at me, and they look at him, and he looks at me, and I am fucking horrified. What have I done? And I decide to not take the L. I decide to dig myself a little deeper. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you laughed at that, because I'm not racist, just my parents are. My dad is like, I'm not racist. I'm like, I know, Dad. Sorry. What have I done? I don't remember. And then I just black out. Like, I do not remember leaving. I don't think my parents remember leaving. I think everybody just blacked out. And I honestly do not remember the end of the dinner party. But I do know that we were never invited back again. I don't think that my parents ever talked to any of that group of friends again, and I don't think it was a coincidence that they moved out of Colorado several years later. Whoopsie. So, people ask, like, what happened to that guy? And we didn't break up because he was a paraplegic. We broke up because he was an alcoholic. And I mean, like, to be fair, like, he had a lot to drink about. And also, like, I also don't know how drunk I am until I stand up. Too far? Like I said, I host a storytelling competition in New York City if you'd like to come. Thank you very much.
Courtney, Boxwell, Taback, everybody.